If you are looking for the best meat slicers, this video is for you. Here is the 3 best meat slicers. Don't forget to check the link in the description for pricing. Number 1. KWSMS10NT Review Quietest Meat Slicer. A common complaint about meat slicers is that they're loud. I understand that complaint. These machines are loud. It has a motor that produces over 240 watts of energy and some moving parts. Things just get loud. Fortunately, KWS somehow solved the loudness problem with the MS10NT. I'm not exactly sure how they did it, but this slicer is quiet. Obviously, a quiet slicer is much better even in a commercial kitchen. The volume isn't the only thing I like about this, though. It has a whopping 320 watts of power. That's crazy. For comparison, most of the meat slicers in this article have around 240 watts of power. This makes the KWSMS10NT great for those of you that love cutting your own cheese. It gets better, though. The blade on this is a 10 inches and made from 304 stainless steel, which doesn't corrode. It does a decent job of keeping its edge, too. This makes it great for those that don't like doing blade maintenance. Trust me, no one likes doing blade maintenance. It also has a Teflon coating that should prevent a lot of stickiness and general messiness. I know Teflon is controversial, but if you like it, then you'll be happy that the blade has it. Pros. 320 watts makes it powerful enough to slice cheese. It's much quieter than other slicers. Cons. It's more expensive than some of the other options, but the quietness and power make it worth the slightly extra cost. Some reviewers have had trouble cleaning it. Verdict. It's quiet and powerful. That's not a combo that you find very often. Sure, it's a little more expensive, but it's worth the extra cost. It's basically required if you plan on slicing a decent amount of cheese. Number 2. Zika 12 inches Meat Slicer Review. Sharpest Blade. The sharpness of the blade might be one of the most important factors when choosing a deli meat slicer. As you may have guessed, a sharp blade makes everything so much easier. The cuts are much cleaner, and it's faster to operate. Honestly, there isn't any reason you would ever want a dull blade. The blade is more than just sharp, though. It's also quite large at 12 inches, and made of chrome-plated steel. For those that don't know, the chrome plating keeps its edge for a slightly longer amount of time. The power is fairly typical at 250 W. That's not high, but it's also not low. It's about average, and the sharper blade does make up for the average power. Now, this slicer does have one huge drawback: it's expensive. That's expected because of the massive 12 inches blade. Really, this particular deli meat slicer would work best for commercial purposes because of its size. Sure, a homeowner could use in their home, but more compact and affordable options exist. Plus, a homeowner just doesn't have much need for a 12 inches blade. Pros. The blade stays sharp for a long time, which means less sharpening and cleaner cuts. 250 W of power is enough for most meats and some harder cheeses. Cons. It's much more expensive than other options on this list. But the high-quality blade makes up for the cost. Verdict. It's got a sharp blade and enough power. So, if you're the type of person that hates sharpening blades, then this is definitely the meat slicer for you. Keep in mind that it's more expensive than other options, but the quality of the blade makes the additional cost worth it. Number 3. Reviewschanne Commercial Electric Meat Slicer Review. Best for getting thick slices. Are you tired of getting 1/2 slices of meat or cheese? It can get repetitive and boring after a long enough time. In fact, the majority of slicers have a maximum slice size of 1/2. It's so common that many slicers don't even mention the maximum thickness. Well, the Reviewschanne changes that by having a maximum slice size of 5/8. I understand, that extra 1/8 might not sound like much, but that is a significant difference when it comes to food. Especially certain types of cheese like Munster. But a little extra thickness isn't the only feature that makes this slicer great. It's also great because it has a 12 inches blade that can quickly cut through meat because of its 270 watts of power. Perhaps the most interesting feature this meat slicer has is an anodized base. An anodized base doesn't get scratched as easily as a coated base, which makes it great for a deli or a professional kitchen. Pros. It gives thicker cuts than most other slicers on the market. This makes it great for certain types of cheese. 12 inches blade, and a 270-watt motor, makes the actual slicing much easier. It also allows slicing slightly larger pieces of food. Cons. Slightly more expensive than other options,